Secretary of State Antony Blinken is affirming the U.S. commitment to religious freedom around the world.
The Biden-Harris administration will protect and defend religious freedom around the world. We will maintain America's long-standing leadership on this issue.
The Secretary of State addressed the 2020 International Religious Freedom Report, which the department reports by law to Congress. The report cites instances of oppression and persecution, naming the governments of Iran, Myanmar, also known as Burma, Russia, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, and China. Joining us now from Iraq is Jeremy Barker, director of the Middle East Action Team at the Religious Freedom Institute. Jeremy, welcome back. Good to be with you. As we just heard, the Secretary of State says that President Biden will continue to defend religious liberty around the world. From your viewpoint, how is the administration doing so far?
Yeah, well, today was a good moment for this, to hear the administration reassert their commitment, and for Secretary Blinken to highlight that they really do view religious freedom as a fundamental right, a universal right, as he said. This goes to really to the heart of what it means to be human, to think freely, to follow our conscience, to express our religion. So today was, on the international scene for international religious freedom, it was encouraging to hear really a strong statement from Secretary Blinken today.
Jeremy, can you talk a little bit more about the report and maybe some of the key takeaways?
Yeah, so this is the 23rd report now that the State Department has produced, and it covers the situation of religious freedom in almost 200 countries around the world. This is the 5th administration that's done it, and it really is a kind of the gold standard for a government-produced report in assessing what's going on. And they do point, unfortunately, to some worrying trends that we're looking at around the world. One of those is certainly repressive government restrictions that are criminalizing religious exercise. Sometimes this shows up in blasphemy laws like we continue to see in Pakistan or in Egypt. We've also seen regulation on religious life that leads to shutting down of churches. This has been amplified by the COVID-19 pandemic in places like Algeria, where churches remain closed, but you have other houses of worship that have been opened. We also see religious discrimination and hate crimes that are rising, whether this is anti-Semitism or anti-Muslim, anti-Christian rhetoric. That continues to be something that often is fueled with nationalist tendencies. And unfortunately, this often leads to really religious freedom violations are kind of an early warning of mass atrocities. And we look at what's happened here in the Middle East over the last number of years, or in Burma, as you mentioned, with the Rohingya Muslim and other minority communities, or even in China, where you have continued religious repression that now has really reached a level of genocide. And so those are some of the key themes that stood out in this year's report.
What about countries that are considered the most dangerous for Christians? And also, were there any countries on that list that maybe improve when it comes to religious freedom?
Yeah, so there are a number of places that we are really concerned about. As I just mentioned, Burma is in an extremely worrying place right now, where you have a military coup, but this comes on the back of really what appears to be genocide committed against Rohingya Muslims, but also its Christian community has faced similar attacks, and so that's one we're watching closely. China is another one that is very concerning, and it's not only what's happened to the Uyghur Muslim community, but China's Christian communities continue to face very severe restrictions. And then another place that continues to need even more attention is really across sub-Saharan Africa. Places like Ethiopia and Nigeria, there are huge religious freedom challenges, and violence continues to escalate. So that's somewhere where we really need to be paying greater attention to. And this ought to be a particular concern for Christians as they think about fellow Christians around the world, but it's something that affects people of all faiths.
Well, Jeremy, unfortunately, we have to leave it right there, but thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Jeremy Barker, director of the Middle East Action Team at the Religious Freedom Institute.